Dan, talk to us a little bit about this technology then. I mean, how widely available is it? What does it look like? Tell us about what's available.
Well, there's three things really here. I mean, first of all, from a kind of diversity and inclusion point of view, it'd be great if more women came forward in technology and had these conversations, because this is not for me to really talk about. So all I can say is I apologise for all men, because we've got to remember that literally I don't think there's a case of any women being found to doing this. So this is all to do with men doing it. And I don't normally do talks around AI, the future of work and technology. And this is a technology piece, so it does come under my remit. But actually, as Lady rightly said, this is more to do with economics and politics. The economics is that it's now so much cheaper to buy these things, and so you can buy them for £10. And I'm certainly not going to say the places where you can,
yeah, of course,
because they're not, but also they're not illegal, and they are manufactured as surveillance equipment. Now, that's okay, except what the lady's saying and what the stats and data is saying is that these aren't used for this. And so actually it becomes a political thing. Just like I'm not allowed to buy a gun because we don't want people shooting people, unlike in America where they're allowed to buy guns. In England and the UK you can't buy guns. Why should you be able to buy these things? They should be illegal. Because unless you are a spy, you don't need a spy cam. Unless you've got a license for this thing. I know it may sound a little bit overreacting, but the data behind this is shocking. There's a huge number of these cases, and it doesn't seem to be stamped out. So I'm wondering, it's more of a political thing than a technological thing. But unfortunately, it's an economic thing too.
What about the people who would say, well, actually, I want to make sure that in my home there's surveillance there in case there was a burglar, or in case there was, they want to keep, there's, the sort of things you can get, like pet cams, making sure that my pet's okay when I'm out, or, people might argue that there's legitimate reasons to have them.
Absolutely, and you could also argue there might be legitimate reasons for certain people to have guns, right? So we're not saying that. I'm saying that the ones that are so tiny that people can't find them and people can't see them, I think that's when this issue comes in. And again, there might be a technological way of doing this. And again, this might sound a bit harsh, but maybe it could be, if you do buy one of these things, that's absolutely fine, except a banner pops up and says, by the way, by buying one of these things, you'll go onto a register, which will say you've got a surveillance camera. And at some point, the police will come in and say, how are you using your surveillance camera? Now, that would stop people who are buying them for non-surveillance purposes. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a little bit draconian, but that's what you'd have to do.
Yeah, I get what you mean. If people are read somewhere recently, and I don't know if this is one of the sort of nonsense thing you read about on social media somewhere, that you can get these other devices that highlight where there might be hidden cameras. I don't know how that would potentially work. Is that nonsense?
Again, well, yes and no. I think the more you spend money, there may be people like James Bond in the world, and there's definitely going to be Q, and there's going to be clever ways of finding all these things, and there are bugs that you can find, and there are surveillance cameras and ways of doing it. Yeah, there is always that technology. I think sometimes people sell that technology and it's a bit of a fib, but unfortunately on both sides, they sell this stuff because, of course, it makes money. And that's why I think sometimes it's a political thing, isn't it? It's not okay that people make money from this and do this. Actually, you could easily come in and say, look, we're going to tax these things so much that it costs so much that you can't buy them for £10 anymore. They cost you £100. And also, when you do buy one, you're going to go onto a register and we might pop round your house. I think that would get rid of about 90% of the people doing it.
We were talking about the instances that we've heard and people that have been prosecuted for this. I mean, this is, by the very nature from what we know, not necessarily common, so people shouldn't be paranoid and worried about the potential of this happening in their homes or whatever else. But listening to Dan and talking about deterrence, do you agree with what Dan's saying, that this actually should just be taken out of the market altogether?
I completely agree with what Dan's saying. I think, what's the justification for having these kind of devices within the home? And if the argument is that I want something to survey my property, there's enough doorbells, there's enough CCTV security systems that you can purchase that's really visible and obvious it is what it's intended for. It's security measures. If you've purchased something that looks like an everyday household item, but really it's so small and discreet that people.
Oh, we're just having some issues with Emma's line there. Listen, both of you, Emma, thank you so much for coming on. I don't know if you can hear me, but Dan, appreciate your time and your insight on this today.
Well, no, I'm happy to do it. And as I say, if we can, as the young lady rightly says, it's the ones that are these tiny cameras that you can put everywhere. I think that's what we're really talking about. The ones that are normally used for nefarious purposes, not surveillance cameras and rings and doorbells and all these other things, because, of course, they're used to protect the homes. And, of course, we all want to have, homes that we can protect and pets that we love. It's those 3% or 1% of people that are using it in the wrong way.
So, Dan Sodergren there, tech journalist, and Emma Pickering was the other voice that you heard from, Head of Technology, Facilitated Abuse and Economic Empowerment at Refuge.